Alright everybody, welcome back. Nimiger here, and we are doing another day of the Faction Wars Hard Road to Polarifier Heart. Today we're going to be looking at the Demonspawn Crypt. I will go through all 21 stages and explain strategies I used, champions I used. We'll start with the first little bit, go through them pretty quick. As we get towards the end, I'll go through them a little bit slower and call out some specific waves that might be a little bit tricky to get through. All in all, just know that before we get into this video, it is a not free-to-play guide. I also am not going to be covering a lot of champions I don't have. I don't have experience with them, so I don't feel like I can really talk about how to use them in the best way possible. So I'm just going to go through what I did, maybe learn a few tricks from it as well. So let's get started. We're going to start with stage 1 for the demons, and it's going to be 10 HP burn debuffs. You can see on my roster, I've got Volcanos. He's going to be pretty much my MVP for this faction. However, because I don't have very specific champions, I did struggle with this faction a little bit. If you look down here, you'll see there's no Duchess. Also no Preva. You'll, in fact, see if I go into the Revive section here, all I have is Dur, the Hungerer, who's not very good. So, I struggled a little bit. I had to use some OP champions to get through it. However, I was missing some of the ones that make it a bit easier. Key callouts for this faction: if you've done your sieges, you'll have Lamasu. She's going to be an amazing champion for wave control and getting your champions going. As I mentioned, Volcanos being able to place the HP burns and just stack up a ton of damage over the fight. I do have double Commodus. I know the waves are extremely easy with him. However, I will say I didn't use him too much. The Form 1's going to be pretty good for Faction Wars, but Form 2, honestly not that good outside of a few conditions. The bombs don't deal a ton of damage, and they don't explode instantly just because of the fact that they have a ton more HP than him. Before I pulled Karosa, I completed this faction, so I did not use her at all. And Carnage, you can see I've got 3 stars there. I just got that last week. Prior to that, I had 0 stars, so I did not use Carnage at all either, because I think he's quite hard to build without at least 4 or 5 star blessing. Some other key champions to call out. I do love the Cheshire Cat. Does a ton of damage. Is allowed to take multiple turns if he gets the A3 going to kill enemies, and he's got the speed aura. And Kymar, turn meter boost and resetting your whole team. Honestly, a fantastic skill. And then the sleep also to CC some of the waves if you're trying to circle through them. Again, my roster for Demonspawn isn't honestly that packed, missing some of the key revivers. Another one I used a little bit was Helicath. He's got the shields and block damage, which do make staying alive a little bit easier considering I ran most of the stages with no reviver. So for stage 1 with the 10 HP burn, obvious callout's going to be Volcanos, but you do have to let the enemy do some stuff in order to place that HP burn. If we look at HP burn in the faction, actually easier than Volcanos is going to be Tyrant. He's going to be placing the HP burn on the A2 on all enemies, and the free champion Drexthar. On the A1, he's going to be placing an HP burn. Having Drexthar makes it pretty easy to complete this stage. If we look at wave 2, 10 provoke debuffs, going back to that same champion, Drex. He's got attacks all enemies, 40% chance of provoke, goes up to 60%. Little annoying that it's not 100%, but he's going to be the easy choice for this wave. You also got a few epics that can place provoke. On the A1, you've got Tarshan, and then the Umbral Enchantress. Looks like she's got attacks all enemies provoke on everybody, so if you got her, she's pretty good. It is a little bit of a longer cooldown at 5 turns, though. Looking at stage 3, we are going to be placing 20 poison debuffs. And you first think of the demon faction, you might not think of poisons, and that'd be right, because there's very little champions that can do it. If you got Kymar, extremely easy, give him some crit rate, he'll poison on the A1. If you don't got Kymar, you better have Urticata. She's going to be placing a poison sensitivity, a hex, and then the A1 is going to be increasing duration of poisons. And the passive, it looks like, is where she's actually placing the poisons. Anytime a champion or ally lands will under Hex. You place poison debuff on them, so you'll place the Hex using your A3. You don't really need to worry about the A2. A1, again, irrelevant, and just hope that as you're hitting them, they stack up poisons. If you don't have her or Kymar, easy bet is just going to go with a toxic set. It's going to take a little bit longer to get through the fight, but 20 poisons honestly won't be too bad. Stage 4, defeat 5 enemies using bomb debuffs. This is the one condition where you really, really want Commodus, and if you don't have Commodus, it's extremely difficult. If you look at bombs within the Demonspawn faction, you got the Rare, who is going to be placing a single bomb after 3 turn detonation. You're really going to struggle to use that. I wouldn't even recommend trying. Best bet's going to be the Soul Drinker. If you don't have Commodus, he's going to place 2 bombs. If he dies, you can put him in a really weak set, let him die a bunch and revive him, or you can attack all enemies with the A3 and place a bomb that detonates again. It's 3 turns. You can decrease the cooldown, but it's again 3 attacks 3 times at random. It's very, very tedious to get this champion going. You're going to want a Kymar or a Lammasu to just let him use his skills over and over again to get bombs out there. You're also going to want as much attack as possible so that the bombs actually kill. This being stage 4, it's not too bad. Champions don't have too much health. If I look it up on the waves and show them right here, you can see champions about 100 to 400,000 to 140,000 HP at the high end. Honestly, not too bad to get through. However, just 1 round of bombs, and if their full health, is not going to end up killing the team. So you want some CC, you'll want some resets. You might run a couple Soul Drinkers just to run through the fight. Again, it's going to take a while, but 5 is a little bit of a reasonable number. Looking at stage 5, 10 stun debuffs. Again, if you look at debuffs for the faction, you've got your Commodus, who's only placing it on the A form 2, on the A2, if the bombs detonated, but they didn't die, which again, they're not detonating against the champions with a couple 100,000 health. You've got a Magnar, who's pretty good at a stun if they have HP burn, so if you can pair him with a Tyrant or other champion who's going to be placing an HP burn, then he's got a 50% chance placing a stun on the A2. And then the other one is going to be Dur on the A1. So a few options. If you can combine with the HP burn, it won't be too bad to place 10. What I ended up doing was just throwing my Lammasu in a stun set. She's got an AoE A1, and then you hope you place all the stuns in time. Stage 6, manipulating turn meter 40 times. If you got Kymar, if you got Lammasu, not going to be too bad. They've got turn meter increases. If we look at the other effects and they're positive, you can look at fill turn meter. You've got a decent amount of fill turn meter in the faction. Commodus, for me, was the easy one. His Form 1, almost every single ability is going to be doing turn meter stuff. If you've got a Lix, she's going to have the decreased speed and also decreasing turn meter on each hit. That's a pretty good one. She's also got a cooldown change that's going to help the rest of your team stay refreshed. There's a few other champions that do some turn meter shenanigans. And if you look at the negative for decreasing turn meter, you've got champions here that can do it. An easy one's going to be Allure on the A1. Give her some crit rate 3 times at random, have her A1 a bunch of times, admittedly, but it's going to complete the condition. Stage 7, not too bad. You're going to have the poison boss who's placing 2 poisons and decreasing turn meter. You're going to attack all enemies and poison sensitivity and poison for 3 turns. Remove all buffs, and then HP burn when you hit him. That's going to tick a few times. If you throw in some nukers, throw in some cleanses. If you got Duchess or Preva, it's going to be pretty easy. You can see if I look at my buffs for block debuffs, I only have Achak, and he's going to be placing the block debuffs and strengthen. You can use him to get rid of the HP burn. You can also just use Duchess, who's going to be way better for any of these. My strategy for this boss was let Vulcanos get some burns out during the waves, and then he's going to start smacking the boss with the A1s. Any nuker, though, not going to be too bad. Carnage, obviously, the free-to-play call-out. If you clear in Curse City hard, you're going to get him pretty quickly. He's going to have some pretty decent damage on the Form 1 and Form 2. and let you control some of the waves in the stages. So he'll probably be your nuker for bosses if you got him. Looking at stage 8, 15 HP burns, same as the last time. Drexthar, Tyrant. Just go through the stages, not going to be too hard. Looking at number 9. Defeat 10 enemies using bomb debuff. Once again, if you have Commodus, very easy. You can see I completed this in 50 seconds. If you do not have Commodus, I am so sorry. You're going to be taking your bomb champion, and if you want to use the rare, you can. Otherwise, you're going to be using the one epic, and hopefully you have multiple copies. This guy is going to have to carry so incredibly hard by killing 10 champions while they're under bombs. It's very tedious. I know many people that have done it. They hate this stage. I was very lucky in having Commodus. It is doable. You just need to get the champions low, put the Soul Drinker bombs on them, decrease the duration if they're low, or just let them take their turn. You just want to make sure you don't have a super strong nuker who's going to end up killing champions while they have bombs on them. 10, use at least 3 epic champions. This one, not going to be too bad to go through. There's some decent epics in the faction. Called out earlier, Achek. He's going to be placing some freezes and HP burns. You can use him for the HP burn stage as well. You got block debuffs and strengthen. He's going to have the duration increase. He's a pretty decent champion. You're going to have Magnar. He actually is a pretty good nuker. This, if they don't have HP burn, is going to hit twice and deal a decent amount of damage. Same with the A3. You got a decreased defense on the A1 that's going to deal a decent amount of damage as well. So Allure, if you throw in 1 or 2 Allures, she'll carry the fight just by decreasing turn meter, putting enemies to sleep. Dur, if you don't have the Duchess or the Preva, it's going to be the Reviver, so you could be using him as your epic in the slot. And then also Garlos is pretty decent, can deal some damage in the faction. There's not going to be too hard to clear it with the epics. It's not like the epic quality is incredibly low to where they're useless. Stage 11, defeat enemies when they have no buffs on them. Very easy with Lammasu, who's going to be placing block buffs. Or Commodus, who's going to be removing all buffs and placing block active skills. Hymar is also going to be doing that on his A2 to put them to sleep and remove all the buffs. If we look at the remove buffs here, you've also got the newly buffed, or will be buffed in a few weeks, Crew Extra. Attacks and ignores defense. Attacks and removes 2 random buffs from the target with an extra turn. And then Carnage as well on the A1. 50% chance to remove buffs. Easiest bet's just going to have Lammasu go in, but otherwise there's a little bit of buff removal with Carnage being the free one. 12, provoke debuffs. We went through the champions that can provoke already. You're going to just do it 5 more times than you used previously. Easiest bet's probably going to be Drexthar, or the Umbral Enchantress. Stun debuffs again. We went through this one. Not amazing stunners in here. If you got HP Burn Magnar, Dur, or Lammasu in a stun set, or anybody with a little bit of AoE in a stun set, is most likely going to be the easiest way to get through 13. 14 again is the boss, same strategy as the previous bosses. This one is going to be dealing a little bit more damage with the ignore defense. He's going to be transferring the debuffs and placing fear and stuns and reflecting damage. So if you've got a block debuffs, it's going to be useful. If you got block buffs for the reflect damage, it's going to be useful. Also, when you're hitting him, you're going to be making sure his turn meter goes up. So champions that can do some bigger nukes are going to be pretty useful. You could throw in a Helicath to try to keep your team alive over time with some counterattacks, but that might boost his turn meter a lot. Again, I used this exact team right here. Without the Commodus, as I probably would have thrown in just a Hymar, a Helicath. Withir has the cleanse that you might be using as well to remove that pain link and healing your team. She's going to be a pretty good support. The only thing she's really lacking is the revive. 15, beat all stage while all champions are alive. This one is a little difficult. Not going to be too tedious to get through if you've got some decent champions. Looking at the wave itself here. The first one, you just want to make sure you're not buffing a ton to get the Knell giving you 1,000,000 poisons. The second wave, This one is a little more difficult. It's hard to CC because the Jingwong is going to be removing all CC that you place the first time you place it, and then placing a block debuffs. The counter to this is just single target CC. You'll trigger his passive, and then if you have another CC champion that can go after, you can CC the most important target, which is probably going to be the Toshiro. You don't want him to go, he will one-shot your team. The harder part of this wave is going to be wave 3 for sure. Again, Black Tusk is going to be placing Stone Skin on all of these champions. Mountain King with 321,000 health does a lot of damage. That's a little bit ridiculous. And Torment is going to be placing random freezes while you're buffing or increasing your turn meter. The biggest thing for this stage is that the Black Tusk Stone Skin is guaranteed to be removed with a simple remove buffs. So if we look at the faction for the remove buffs again, that's going to be under negative, I think. We'll check positive. It's under negative. Remove buffs. Commodus is going to be the easy call out for the Form 1. Kaimar with the A2 is who I used to put him to sleep as well. You got the Corextra or the Carnage, but the Carnage is only on the A1. You can place your champions in some bolster sets to keep your champions alive further. You can also place them all in Stone Skin and try to outlast the Dwarf Wave. Again, my easiest thing for the Dwarf Wave is to remove the buffs. You can also give them some HP burn, and that'll tear away the Stone Skin. However, it's just going to be easier to either wait it out and protect your team against it, or make sure that your team can remove the buffs and then CC afterwards. It's a little bit difficult to get through, especially with such limited options, but overall, it's not as horrible as some of the other stages we're going to get to. 16, don't let your enemies use active skills. Pretty easy. If you got Lamasu, you're going to be placing the block buffs and the fear. The fear is going to prevent your team, the enemy team, from going quite a bit. Free option right here is going to be the Carnage. He's got the block active skills that he can then transfer to the rest of the enemies with the debuff spread. You got some Kaimar sleeps. Easiest one is going to be Commodus with the block active skills. This wave itself, looking at it over on the other side right here. Again, the wave 1, not too hard. No specific champions that are going to really ruin your day. Wave 2, you want to watch out. The Androck is pretty tanky. The Kaja is going to cleanse the team if you've got him CC'd other than her. The Cardiel, again, is going to cleanse the team and use a team attack if you don't have him CC'd. But if you're able to CC it, it's not going to be too bad. Wave 3, the hardest part about this is you want to get it down quite quickly. If you plan on setting up using a lot of buffs, the Valkyrie's going to take a turn. If you want to set up some CC and let the team kind of do their thing over time, you're going to have 2 Hanorok clearing your debuffs, so you want to place multiple debuffs and hope that she doesn't cleanse the CC. Or you're just going to have to nuke it down as fast as possible. Looking at your champions again, I would just save up your nukes at the end of wave 2 and then try to nuke it down as fast as possible at wave 3. Carnage is going to be pretty good for these waves, trying to debuff spread. Commodus is going to be the MVP. Kaimar, again, champions that can do big nukes like Cheshire on the first wave, again, going to be really good as well. 17, this is my least favorite stage in the faction by far. Probably in my top 5 or 10 least favorite stages of this entire Faction Wars hard game mode. No weak hits with the demons is not very fun. I don't have a lot of void options. I've got Lamasu, who's amazing. You can run her and you don't have to worry about the AoE A1. She's going to be placing the turn meter reduction and fears, which will handle a lot of the team. This was before I pulled Kertraxa, and after her buff, she's going to actually be quite a good option for this stage. I did not have her, and I also did not use any of the epics you can see. I also did not use my old campaign farmer as Fellhound, just because he doesn't deal a lot of damage. So I did this stage with a single Void champion. I actually did use Vulcanos for this stage and just pray that I could A1 a champion that didn't burn, that the positive affinities stayed alive, and none of the negative affinities were alive after he burns down. I seen some mad lads use the Carnage. With his counterattacks, I have no idea how you get away with that. I tried him for a little bit. I had to reset so many times. Same thing with Helicath. He's got so many AoEs, and he's going to be counterattacking as well. He's a little bit harder to use. I've seen Commodus used as well, but again, he's got so many AoEs that if you have the negative affinity up, it's just very difficult. Same with Cheshire, Kaimar as well. If you look through the roster, you quickly realize there's not a lot of single target nukes that aren't going to also be doing some sort of AoE where you could screw yourself over. This took me 4+ hours of resetting. I think the team I ended up using was Candy, because he at least has a single target A1 that you can use. And I think with here, again, the A1 though is AoE. It makes it so hard, but you also need to keep the team alive while you're trying to scrounge for negative affinities dying to other champions while you're killing them all in the correct order. It's just so difficult to get through. If you got any good strats for this, put them in the comments. I know Kertraxa, once she's buffed, she's going to be the MVP. Outside of that, it's just a struggle to get through here. 18, defeating your enemies while they are defeating enemies while you're under Perfect Veil. If we look at the buffs and we look at Perfect Veil, Cheshire is going to be number 1 for me. He places it on the A3, keeps it going with the A1. That pretty much cleared it for me. Candy's going to be the other good option with the Perfect Veil here, and granting the extra turn if you have the champion who I managed to not have. Let's see, I don't actually know all of Duchess's intricacies. Places a veil on all allies except this champion. I don't know if you can use this without them being dead, actually, because I don't have her. I've never used her, but I would assume... Oh, places a perfect veil right here. If you got her, this stage is going to be really easy. I didn't have her, but Cheshire does make it at least bearable to get through. That'll be stage 18 done. Stage 19, placing block revive debuffs. This one with Vulcanos is pretty good. If you get HP burn on them, you can have his passive. And I think it's this passive right here. If you got 3 faction allies, he's going to be placing a block revive debuff on enemy killed while under HP burn. So I ran Tyrant with Vulcanos, I placed the HP burn, and I just made the HP burn make sure it was on the enemy. If it is, you can kill them with any champion, and it's going to place that block revive. If we look at the other champions that can block revive in this faction, you've got the Carnage. I believe it's on the second form. Attacks all enemies twice. If target is killed while under a bunch of debuffs, you're going to be placing a block revive on them. So if you can stack up some debuffs, he's going to do a pretty good nuke. If you want to rely on some RNG, you've got the Mortu Macabre passive, who's going to unlock the peril, and then enemies killed by the peril will get block revived. And then you've got Excruciator, who I actually did use for this stage. Let's see where that block revive is. Here it is. While attacking under Veil, enemies killed cannot be revived. This actually does a decent amount of damage. I had her at 5 stars with the Crushing Rend, so I just used her a few times to supplement the Vulcanos if I wasn't able to get the HP burn up. Stage 20. Defeat 4 enemies before they take a turn. Not too bad. This one makes it a little bit easier than some of the others with this Aragaz wave at the end. You can complete this on the wave 1, which is what I would highly recommend. If we look at the wave over on the stages tool, 420. This first wave, I would recommend you're going to kill all 4 champions before they take a turn here. Just lay out some nukes, decrease some turn meter, get them all down, and then you don't have to worry about it the rest of the waves. It makes it significantly easier. If you got a single target nuker and that's your best thing like a Kertraxa, you can single target nuke and then maybe do it on wave 1 and wave 2. I would highly recommend you don't do it for wave 3. The Supreme Gaelic, who's going to be immune to CC, the Aragaz, who's going to be getting extra turns, and the Raka giving the team turn meter. It's very difficult to deal with, so I don't want to have to also deal with completing a condition on this stage as well. So this one, not too bad. One of the easier stage 20s in my opinion. And 21, this boss, again, attacks all enemies with a provoke, has a true fear and a block buffs, fully heals with a taunt. Is also going to have a freeze placed on you. If you didn't know, you can actually go into a Teams of the Week. sometimes I look at these and I can see who cleared it. The only hard part is it doesn't quite tell you what they did to clear it, like the stats or how impressive the stats need to be. You can see here is the strategy I used is Volcanos. I didn't use food, I used other champions, but Volcanos, because the enemy is going to be placing, the ads for the enemy are going to be placing buffs, he's just going to burn down, and they're all going to trigger HP burn, and eventually he will die. So the boss is actually extremely easy if you've got Volcanos. I would recommend bringing an HP burn if you can. It makes it not too bad, just adding that extra damage, because you got 3 ticks every time they go with the 2 ads plus the boss. You want something that's going to keep you alive. If you've got a Duchess, a Nuker, and an HP burn, this stage honestly isn't going to be a problem. Once you complete that, you'll have 63 extra stars added for the Demonspawn Crypt on your way to Polara. If you found anything useful, be sure to subscribe, maybe like the video. If there's anything I didn't cover, like champions to use or strategies to use or waves you thought were pretty hard, go ahead and leave it in the comments to discuss. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Appreciate you.